Hello dear student, today is the continuation of the previous class. In the previous class we discussed about some definitions of probability. Now we'll see some historical background of the probability. The history of probability is a very fascinating topic and the many interesting stories woven around it are largely well known. We shall in this chapter only trace the mathematical development of the concept of probability, which will form the necessary background for the inception of the present day axiomatic theory. The theory of probability had a humble beginning in the games of chance connected with gambling in France in the 17th century. So that was a very interesting story. I am not going into detail of that story. Towards the beginning of the 19th century, Laplace Towards the beginning of the 19th century, Laplace gave a formal definition of probability, and that is now known as classical definition of probability. So it was in the beginning of the 19th century. But there are some limitations or some defects of the classical definition. So a new point of view was explored by von Mises in 1920 and gave a definition, and that definition is known as frequency definition of probability. There are also some limitation of this theory, frequency definition. So in 1933, a Russian mathematician Kolmogorov gave a axiomatic approach of probability, and that is the existence concept of the probability, and that will give you the mathematical development of the probability. So let us come to the definitions now in detail. What is the classical definition of probability? If a random experiment or a trial results in n exhaustive, mutually exclusive, and equally likely outcomes or cases, out of which m are favorable to the occurrence of an event A, then the probability P of occurrence of E, usually denoted by probability of A, and is given by number of favorable cases by total number of exhaustive cases. Exhaustive, equally likely, mutually exclusive. Look at that. N is your exhaustive, equally likely, mutually exclusive cases, as already we discussed these terms in our previous video. So this is the classical definition of probability. It's simply the number of favorable cases by total number of exhaustive cases. So suppose you are tossing a coin. So head and tail are the sample space, exhaustive cases. So what will be the probability of number of head? What is the probability of getting head? That will be half only. So this way you can apply so many problems using classical. So many problems can be solved using classical theory. So but there are some limitations of the classical definition. So I will look into this limitations. The classical definition, although looks simple, has a grave logical flaw. The definition can be used only if it is possible to ascertain that all the simple events are equally likely. So if there are so many problems, those are not equally likely. Suppose passing of a student in an examination is not equally likely, and a newborn baby is a boy or girl is not equally likely. So these type of problems and so many other problems, we cannot apply classical definition if the problems are not equally likely. So this is a general logical flaw. So, and another thing is that the definition restricted to event spaces which are finite and where all the simple events are equally likely. So the definition cannot be applied where the simple events are not equally likely and where the event space is infinite. You cannot apply there. So these are the limitations for classical definitions. Next, the frequency definition by von Mises in 1920, as already we discussed. So these limitations are tried to overcome in this definition. Now what is before defining, we have some term. Let a random experiment E be repeated under identical or uniform conditions n times. Identical or uniform conditions, as already mentioned in the previous video, what is the identical condition? And if an event A connected with E is found to occur n of A times, then n of A is called the absolute frequency, and the ratio n of A by n is called the relative frequency or the frequency ratio of A and is denoted by Fa. So n of a is the absolute frequency and n of a by n is the relative frequency. Now, if n is infinitely large under identical conditions, fa becomes more or less a constant. This phenomenon of stability of frequency ratio is known as statistical regularity. So this is very important term in statistics, statistical regularity. That means if your trial is infinite number of large, n is infinitely large, that you are doing the experiment infinite number of times, then this ratio becomes more or less a constant. This phenomenon is called as known as statistical regularity. Now, in this theory, we postulate that the sequence tends to a definite limit as n tends to infinity, and this limit is called the probability of A. That is, limit n tends to infinity, f of A is becomes your probability of A. So, this is your classical definition. So, this theory has developed in 1920, but there is a serious defect in this theory. So, let us have the criticism. The frequency definition is completely based upon the stability of the frequency ratio n of a by n as n becomes large. Now, look at that, the limit n tends to infinity n of a by n is rigorously analytical concept. It's an analytical concept. Look at that, this limit is an analytical concept. It's strictly an analytical concept. So, analytical concept. Now, the combination of empirical and analytical concept leads to mathematical difficulties. Also, the limiting value are only a mathematical concept. The exact measurement of probability even with a large number of trial is never possible. So, if there is a mixture of analytical and empirical concept, that will give us mathematical difficulties. So, that is why this theory has serious defects. So, these defects are modified and taken into consideration in 1933 by Kolmogorov, and he gave a beautiful axiomatic definition of probability, and that is the modern development of probability that gives you. So, what is the axiomatic definition? There will be three axioms. Let us see. Let E be a given random experiment and S be the corresponding event space. S be the corresponding event space, that is class of all subsets of S. Subsets of sample space. Also, let delta be the class of subsets of S forming the class of events E. A mapping P from delta to R is called the probability function defined on delta. So, this is your probability function P from delta to R. Your domain is the delta, class of events of E, and codomain is the real number. And the unique real number PA determined by P is called the probability of the event A, where A belongs to delta. If the following axioms are satisfied, known as axioms of probability are satisfied. What are the axioms? Number axiom 1, probability of A greater or equal to 0. For every event A belongs to delta. Probability of S equal to 1. Axiom 2. Axiom 3, if A1, A2, etc. be countably infinite number of pairwise mutually exclusive events, that is AI AJ equal to null, where I not equal to J and AI AJ belongs to delta, then sum of all, that is probability of A1 plus A2 etc. will be equal to probability of A1 plus A2 plus AN etc. because AI AJ is mutually exclusive. That is why this is phi or null, intersection is null. So, these three are the important axioms of probability, and this gives you the axiomatic definition of probability. So, you have probability of A greater or equal to 0, axiom 1, probability of S greater or equal to 1, axiom 2, and 3, A1, A2, AN etc. be countably infinite number of pairwise mutually exclusive events. Then you have this addition is simply their individual addition. So, this is your foundation of axiomatic definition of probability. Also, we know that probability space is given by the three tuple S, delta and P. This is your probability space. This is known as probability space. very important, and I have discussed this about in my video probability distribution. Now there is a important note. I want to mention one note here. It is important to realize that the axioms of probability will not give a unique assignment of probabilities to events for the same event space S. We can choose probabilities in many ways satisfying the axioms. So this is I want to mention here, that the unique assignment of probabilities is not possible here. We can choose probabilities in many ways satisfying the axioms. But this apparent incompleteness of a system of axioms in probability does not put any hindrance to our approach towards the consistent and logical theory. Okay? So let's move to the last section of our discussion today, some deductions using axiomatic definition of probability. First is probability of complementary event is 1 minus probability of A. So we know that A union complementary, A union A complement is S and A intersection A complement is phi. So by axiom 2 we have probability of S is equal to 1 already from axiom 2, and axiom 3 probability of S is equal to probability of, because this is the union of A and C complement, so that gives you probability of A plus probability of A complement. So combining these two axioms we have probability of A plus probability of A complement is equal to 1. So that proves the result, this. Next we shall prove 0 less than equal to probability of A less than equal to 1 for any event A. By axiom 1 probability of A greater equal to 0 for any event A. Also probability of complementary event is greater equal to 0. Also probability of complementary event already proved that this result as from the previous result already proved above. So this gives you probability of A greater equal to 1. Combining probability of A greater equal to 0 and less than equal to 1, we have 0 less than equal to, that is probability lies between 0 and 1. Now in the next section we prove if A is contained in B, then probability of A less than equal to probability of B. Now since A is a subset of B or A is contained in B, we can write B equal to A plus B minus A. So look at that. Again I am drawing some diagram for your understanding clear. So this is your A and this is your B and this is your B minus A, right? So look at that, you can write these are mutually exclusive, A and B minus A. Look at that, this is your A and this is your B minus A. So A and B minus A are mutually exclusive. So probability of B is equal to probability, these two are mutually exclusive. Sorry, this is, the diagram is okay for any two events, but in this case you have A is contained in B, so you have to draw B in A, this is your B and this is your A, this is your A. So because A is a subset of B, so B is equal to A, this is your B, this outside is your B, this circle is your B and this is your A. So B is equal to, now we can write, and this is your B minus A, this is your B minus A. So we can write B is equal to A plus B minus A, and these two are mutually exclusive. You look at the diagram, they have no common intersection. So probability of B is equal to, we can write probability of A plus probability of B minus A, and also probability of B minus A is equal to this probability of B minus probability of A, and which is greater equal to 0. You know that any probability is greater equal to 0 for any event A. So this is greater equal to 0 means this is greater equal to 0. So that gives you probability of B greater equal to probability of A. So this is very simple proof, and look at the diagram. I hope it is clear from the diagram. Previously the diagram was for any two events A and B, their difference, but this is the diagram here because A is contained in B. So this is very important proof and very small proof. Next, this is called, next we'll prove a theorem, very important theorem in probability. This is called theorem of total probability. that is E and A. If A and B are two events connected to a random experiment E, then probability of A union B is given by probability of A plus probability of B minus probability of A intersection B. This is very important. So the same result we can have from N. The same result we can have from set inclusion exclusion principle. So we can have a diagram for this. This is your A, this is your B set, and this is your intersection. So look at that, we have this result. Now we will prove this. So we have some assumption. Let D1 is equal to A intersection B. So this portion is your D1 and D2 is your A intersection B complement. So this is your D2 and D3 is A complement intersection B. So this is your D3 and D4 is A complement intersection B complement. So A complement intersection B complements means by using De Morgan's law we can write A union B whole complement. So this outside portion is your D4. Clear? I hope it is clear from the diagram. This is your D1, this is your D2, this is your D3 and this is your D4. So now therefore A is D1 intersection D2 union D2. It's clear? This is your D1, this is your D2. I think there is some let us write, it is not clear. This is your D2 and this is your D1. So A is D1 union D2, B is D1 union D3. Look at that, D1 union D3 and D1 is your A intersection B. It's given. So all the DIs are all pairwise disjoint. So your LHS is probability of A union B. So we can write probability of D1 union D2 union D3. Look at that. This is your D1. So D1 union D2 in union D3 probability of, and that gives you probability of D1 plus, because all are pairwise mutually exclusive. So from axiom 3 we can write probability of D1 plus probability of D2 plus probability of D3. So now come to the RHS. RHS is given by this. Now this probability of A is given by D1 union D2. Probability of A, probability of B is D1 union D3 and probability of A intersection B is nothing but your D1. So these A and B are replaced by D1, D2, D3. Now these are all mutually exclusive. So union will be your addition will be addition. So D1 union D3 will be your addition. Again this. So cancelling we have the RHS. So it's same. So in this way you can use it for your proof of the theorem of total probability. It's simply very simple to prove. So you have to put some regions D1, D2, D3, D4 using this and axiom 3. Now this can be generalized for 3 events A union B union C, and easily you can prove this relation. This is the last proof and you can use this diagram. This is your D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7 and the outside is your D8. So similarly you can use the previous proof and you can prove this. So I hope this video is helpful to you to know the historical background of the probability and the 3 major definitions of probability and the foundation of the axiomatic definition of probability. Also using axiomatic definition of probability we have some important proofs. I hope this video is very helpful to you. Thank you.